All right, we good to go? All right, so this Parsha, everyone's read it before? This year I'm talking about? Okay. All right, so we're gonna touch on some of these four places here. Can anyone share with me about these four things here that they know about? The first one is Miriam. What happens? She dies. This is about the red heifer. Splitting of the rock.
And that's the serpent on the rod.
Serpent on the rod, on that brass rod, huh? All right. Okay, and then so the Hebrew side of it, I want to try something a little different because it seems like it's just me.
Pretty much.
So we're going to do this in English, and I did something just to see if it'll work. If it won't work, we'll keep reverting back to this here. All right, so first we'll start in English here, 19:1. It says, and Yahuah spoke unto Moses and unto Aaron and Aaron, saying, this is the ordinance of the law which Yahuah has commanded, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, that they bring you a red heifer without spot, wherein is no blemish, and upon which never came yoke. Right? All right, so Hebrew-wise, I want to try this with you guys. All right? It's broken down now. The translation is through a software, so it's not my translation to the English. However, it does share with you what it is in the Hebrew, and then it breaks it down from what it is into its syntax, if you will. So it breaks it down so you can see what it would be separated. Then it goes into the English. It's even further broken down by sentences, so you know where to stop and everything. Can everyone see this? All right, so this should be all right, I think, right? Hallelujah. Okay, well, we're gonna find out right now, right? And I got the pen. All right, so the first part here, everyone should, we say this so much, you guys should just run through this thing, right? So it says what? Wadaber Yahuah el Moshe wa el Aharon lemor.
That's
right.
That's
Because we do it all the time, right? Okay. All right, so, but look at the breakdown. So this here is letting you know that this is the word for and. Okay, so this goes together. And this right here is the bear versus the bar, is just word. The bear is spoke or speak, right? That's what this portion is. Then it says, Yahuah, as they're translated as Yahweh, El means two. So he said to Moses, what? And to Aaron and Aaron. Okay, led means two or four, but together saying. Okay, Amar means say. Right? So everyone see how this is broken down, right? No problems. All right, so Zot means this, and this is our Parsha, right? It's Kukat, but here's what it is, let's say outside of a word pair, right? Kukat, what else it says? HaTorah. Okay, Ha means the, Torah means technically instruction, but law. Okay, and then it says Asher, what? Okay, so they would say Siwa or Sua, it depends on whoever wants to translate this, but it means what? Asher means which has he, and this right here is commanded. And then it says Yahuah Lemor, which means saying, right? All right, here we go. Next part is what? To bear el bnei Israel, right? See, so speak to the children of Israel. Bottom part says right here, says what? We, okay, weyich hu, okay, this means right here to take and take, right? Next part is elecha, right? So this here, if you can see this here, this portion is broken down right here. But anyway, this is the L, but this says here what? To you what? A para, right? A heifer. What type of heifer? aduma, which is a red heifer. And then it says tamima, right? Tamima without defect. All right. Then it says asher, which, right? Asher what? Ain ba. Now, I figure you probably wouldn't get this part of it, but no, we're not here. This is the on, and then which is here, and then this portion of it is right here, this feminine form. So I won't burden you guys with all of that. All right, so there's not what? No physical defect, which is where here is mum. And lastly, it says asher lo what? Allah aleha ol. Okay, so literally it says what? Which lo means no or not. Then this right here means went up, and then over here you have upon or on. This is feminine for her or it. Having it came a yoke. All right. So I don't know if this is this a better way for you guys to learn it, or just keep it simply the other way? Is it possible you guys just don't know what the letters are? Okay. And the words?
Can you make it a little bit bigger?
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, some of the letters make different sounds. So
Oh yeah, definitely going back to the original way.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know
'cause-
how you
like
did
some of the letters.
when you was teaching, how you did the letter, the words, and then you had the words broken down in
Uh-huh.
English.
So we just sing a
Read
song.
those words.
Aleph bet vet. Demo dalet hey. Okay. Got it. All right. So we'll skip all of that good stuff. All right. No worries. All right. So defining the word kukha or chakhat in this parsha, right? So this is a little bit of history of in West Semitic and South Semitic. So in general, I guess I'll just briefly talk about this. It just really means, lawgiver, which you'll see in Devarim 33:21. It also is set up as graven, right? In Yeshayahu, Isaiah 49:16, behold, I have graven you upon the palms of my hands. Your walls are continually before me, right? That's what you want. He's engraved. So he's asking you to have this understanding as we go into these things. His word, his Torah, is supposed to be engraved inside of you. Okay? So if it's engraved inside of you, that means what? That means I can loosen it up a little bit. I can change it out as I see fit. It's engraved inside of you, right? So he's trying to share. This is the objective. This is why we read his Torah, his instructions. Is we want this engraved into our hearts, into our minds, to walk in his Torah and his instructions, right? All right. So goes with rootless with the South Semitic right here. OSA just means Old South Arabic. And it means, as we see it today, it's translated as law. We see it as precept and things like that. All right? So we'll keep going. So what is going on here in the Parsha? Who is complaining? So you heard this further complaining, right?
Mm-hmm.
Who's complaining?
Israel.
Israel's complaining? Okay, everyone agrees. All right. So 20 verse 1 says, then came the children of Israel, even the whole congregation to the desert of Zin. And the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there. And there was no water for the congregation. And they gathered themselves together against Moses and against Aaron. And the people they strive with Moses, and spoke, saying, well, he that we have died when our brethren died before Yahuah? And why have you brought up the congregation of Yahuah into the wilderness, that we and our cattle should die there? And wherefore have you made us to come up out of Mitzrayim to bring us into this evil place? It is no place of seed of figs or vines or pomegranates, neither there any water to drink. So who's complaining? Right? So who's complaining? Meaning, are they complaining about the same things as before?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. This is the next generation,
He's still complaining.
right? So in other words, The next generation is saying this, not the first generation. The next generation is saying this, right? So the other died out, with the exception of Moses, Aaron, Caleb, and Yahushua or Joshua. The leaders are going to be the last to die out. So how would we know that this was the last and the next generation? How do you know that? First of all, how many knew that it was talking about the next generation? Some of us didn't even know because it really isn't spell it out, so to speak, to some people, right? So we're thinking they're starting this complaint all over again, right? Okay. So look at this here. Bemidbar, Numbers 20:12. It says, and you have spoken to Moshe, Moses, and Aaron, because you believe me not, to purify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, Yisrael or Israel. Therefore, you shall not bring this congregation to the land which I have given them. This is the war of Meribah, because the children of Israel strove with Yahuah, and he was purified in them. Okay. So we will talk about the striking of the rock in just a minute, but note what it says here. It says, because you believe me not. So we're going to see what happened with Moses, to purify me in the eyes of the children of Israel. But then it says what? You should not bring this congregation into the land. So what did it just tell you? This is the next generation. Is everyone with me so far? All right. So also, which we'll talk about sometime in the future, further shares this thought. It says in these, in Devarim or Deuteronomy 1:1, says, these be the words which Moses spoke unto all of Israel on this side Jordan in the wilderness, in the plains, over against the Red Sea or Yom Suf or Sea of Reeds, between Paran and Tophel and Laban and Hasroth and Zahab. It says, and there be 11 days journey from Horeb by the way of the Mount Seir unto Kadesh Barnea. And it came to pass that in the 40th year, in the 11th month, on the first day of the month, that Moshe has spoken to the children of Israel according to all that Yahuah have given him in commandment unto them. So how do you know? You're in the 40th year. How long did they have to stay in that? 40 years. Okay, great. Then verse 4 says, after he had slain Sihon, the king of the Amorites, which dwelt in Heshbon, and Og, the king of Bashan, which dwelt in Asaroth and Ardi, on the side of the Jordan in the land of Moab, began Moshe to declare this law, saying, Yahuah our Elohim spoke unto us in Horeb, saying, you have dwelt long enough in this mount. So it's time to now move, because that generation is on its way. Well, that generation is gone, with the exception of the leaders. Okay, so everyone sees this part. Now, what's highlighted in green is just for me to do something in the future. I figured since I highlighted, I'll share it with you guys. All right, so this is a map. For you that don't know what a map looks like, the part we're concentrating on is Devarim 1:1. Notice that it starts telling you places to go, right? So for right now, just I'll give you a better map to show you what this means, But Devarim 1:1 is sharing with you specific places that we can map out and see where this place is. Meaning we can even trace the journey of Israel going into the promised land. Okay, so we'll see that in the future. So what is going on with this generation? Verse 3 says, and the people of Israel were with Moses and spoke, saying, with Elohim, that we had died when our brethren died before Yahuah. So I said, do they sound like their parents or the first generation? Have they learned from that generation?
They did learn.
So they did learn. They still sound like their parents, right? But they actually did learn, right? So this is what we're seeing is that you're going to have that generational curse still going to be on you, right? But they actually started to grow. We're going to see a little bit of that today and a lot of it next week. So notice Yahuah does not punish them. Just as he gave their parents a try to get it right, so did he with this next generation. Everyone's with me. All right, so old generation, remember this here? Remember the spies? They was like, this was great. Everyone else was like, oh no, not happening, right? Then we move on over to this side. Notice what's happening here. The people are complaining again. He's calling you rebels, and he strikes a rock, causes a problem for who? Wow. All right, so he's hot, right? So let's read Moshe and the rock. So it says, and Yahuah spoke unto Moses, saying, take the rod and gather you the assembly together, you and Aaron your brother, and speak unto the rock. So what are you supposed to do?
Speak.
Speak unto the rock before their eyes, and it shall give forth his water, and you shall bring forth to them water out of the rock. So you shall give the congregation and the beast drink. And Moshe took the rod from before Yahuah, as he commanded him, and Moshe and Aaron, Aharon, gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said unto them, hear now, you rebels. Must we fetch you water out of this rock? And Moshe lifted up his hand, and his rod, he smote the rock twice, and the water came out abundantly. And the congregation drank, and their beasts also. And Yahuah spoke unto Moshe and Aaron, because you have believed not me not to purify me in the eyes of the children of Israel, therefore you shall not bring the congregation to the land of which I have given them. This is the water of Meribah, because the children of Israel strove with Yahuah, and he was purified in them. So why was Moshe not allowed to take Israel into the land of promise?
He didn't speak to the rock, he struck it.
Okay. Disobedience?
Yes, to the Father.
Disobeyed, he struck it. And what about Aaron? Why can't Aaron go into the promised land? Because he's with him? Okay. So you said, while he's with him, hey, listen, you with him, you ain't going neither. Is that what you're saying?
That said, must we fetch water out of this rock?
Uh-huh.
That Aaron, or was that Moses?
Moses?
That was Moshe.
So anyone else?
Well, the Father told both of them, so he didn't stop him from hitting the rock, so he suffered the consequences.
I think it might be because of the golden calf incident.
Huh?
It might be because of the golden calf incident.
Okay.
He misrepresented them, Yahuah, in front of the people.
So we're going to see, right? No worries. All right, so here's my questions. I got a slew of them for you guys. Was Moses supposed to use the staff?
No. He
Okay.
said speak.
Okay. Was he supposed to have the staff?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So we read it here, right? Moshe spoke to Moshe saying, take the rod or the staff. And Moshe took the rod from before Yahuah, and as he commanded him. So we know he's supposed to have it, right? All right. He was supposed to use the rod before, as you saw in here, Shemot 17:6 says, behold, I will stand before you there upon the rock in Horeb, and you shall smite the rock, and there shall come water out of it. The people may drink. And Moshe did so in the sight of the elders of Israel. So before he told them, hey, take the staff, smite the rock. So we're looking like, well, he told them to do it here. What's the difference?
Two different situations, and it's an act of faith and trust and belief and obedience.
Okay. All right. We'll see how that works. Was it because he hit the rock twice?
No.
Okay.
You had to hit right twice, second time.
What did Yahuah say speak to the rock? What does that mean, right? So we're going to see that in just a minute. And why call the people you rebels? Why do you call them rebels?
They always complaining.
He started
Rebelling
taking it
against
personal.
him.
Huh?
He thought they were rebelling against him.
He took it personal.
He took that personal?
He took it personal.
He got beside himself?
Yeah.
Oh, you rebels. Got it. If we think about it, they have been wandering in this desert for 40 years. Why was there no water issues?
True.
Okay. One more quick note. All three water crises, the word or person Miriam was there and mentioned. Why?
Say that again.
Why was Miriam mentioned in all three water crises?
Right. You'll see this word here, be it Miriam or the way it's spelled, is in all three water crises. So in other words, there were three main water crises. Y'all remember those three? Just coming out of Yom Suf, right? Or Red Sea. Remember, they started. Then the one we saw the rock at Horeb, and then we see this one. These are three main ones. If you read it before those scenarios, you'll see Miriam's name, so to speak, roundabout. But the question is, this word here, this word Miriam.
If you add a dagesh and you take out the resh, it spells ma'im. without the rest there. I'm not
Okay.
sure if that's what you're hinting at, but I can clearly see that.
Okay, yeah, but that won't be the reason, but I'm going to share with you what I mean. But sure, yeah, if we remove that, sure, it'd be what you're referring to. Okay, so let's look. So this is Miriam, right? Miriam's name. Her name means what? What'd you say? What'd you say? Oh yeah. Okay. It'll be a nice little lesson to go over that. So we're going to skip that part. And just so you guys that do have name Mary, Miriam, don't change your name. I mean, it's too late. We understand what you're going through. You each might be writing down this. I knew it. This is it. Okay. No worries. Have faith. All right. So first, and I'm giving you the water crisis in a way that you guys can see this. So Shemot 15:23 says, and when they came to Moreh, they could not drink the water for Moreh, for they was what? It was bitter. Look at how it's spelled. The word for bitter. It's marine, right? But same spelling. So that's why I said we're using what they call anagram style. Anyone's familiar with anagram, right? So great. If you don't know what that means.
No.
So in anagram style, what we're doing here basically is reverting to in the Hebrew for this lesson is if you didn't have any vowel pointing systems. Notice that the spelling of it is the same, but technically with the Nakud system, with the vowel pointing, it has different meanings. But if we remove it, this is how you're going to see this in a different way. Okay. All right. So Numbers, Bemidbar 5:18, it says, the priest shall set the woman before Yahuah and uncover the woman's head and put the offering of Moreh in her hand, which is the jealousy offering. And the priest shall have in him hand what? Bitter waters, right? Mehamrim, marim, right? That causes the curse. 21 says, and then came the children of Israel, even the whole congregation into the desert of Zin in the first month, and the people abode in Kadesh, and Miriam died there and was buried there. Okay, and there was no water for the congregation, and they gathered themselves together against Moshe and Aaron, right? So we see this word over and over again. We'll see some more. No, 17:10. And Yahuah said unto Moshe and Moses, bring Aaron's rod again before the testimony to be kept for a token against the rebels, and you shall take away the murmuring from me that they die not. The word rebels is Miriam, a marine, realistically, right? So again, so we got bitter, we got rebels, you got rebellious, all those surround the same spelling. Okay, is everyone with me so far? And again, I promise you, do not change your name. All right. Verse 8 says, take the rod and gather you the assembly together, you and Aaron, your brothers, and speak unto the rock before their eyes. Wide the rod and see below the rebels, right? So, 2010, see how it's spelled for rebels. Morim, right? So it says here, and Moshe and Aaron gathered the congregation together before the rock, and he said unto them, hear now, you Morim, right? You rebels, must we fetch you water out of this rock? Why is there a connection? Everyone look at this. As I said, next year when we start doing more Hebrew, we're going to start connecting all of this together. Today is your intro. All right. So why this rock? Anyone know why this rock is so important? This particular rock.
That's the real life rock.
This is the literal rock that was struck.
That's what they said.
Right. They said. Okay. So how many people believe that? How many people?
Do you believe it?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, they said that when they did a test right here, that it showed erosion of water coming out of the rock. Mm-hmm. All right. So here's the Exodus. Of course, we will never believe Sinai is here. No way possible. But anyway, so they go through the routes. We'll talk about Kadesh Barnea and Wilderness of Zin in just a minute, Paran and things like that, right? And then, but here's where they're sharing that the real Sinai is, and we'll talk more about that later. All right, so Devarim 32 verse 4 says, he is the rock. His work is perfect, for all his ways and are judgment, and Elohim of truth, without iniquity, just and right is he. He is the rock. Yirmiyahu says, 17:13, O Yahuah, the hope of Israel, or Yisrael, all that forsake you shall be ashamed, and they that depart from me shall be written in the earth, because they have forsaken Yahuah, the fountain of living waters. Okay, so what can we just get out of this picture?
He was a rock idiot.
Okay, all right, keep this in mind. Okay, we're going to read that too. So speak to the rock. What can we glean from this story? Okay, the bar is the word for word, right? But we had used the word deber, which means to speak, right? So he says, speak to the rock. You can mean talk to the rock. His word is to be spoken. Who is the rock? So you remember in 1 Corinthians 10, 1-4, it says, moreover, brethren, I would not that you should be ignorant how that all our fathers were under the cloud and all passed through the sea and were all immersed unto Moses in the cloud and in the sea, and did all eat the same spiritual meat and did all drink the same spiritual drink, for they drank of that spiritual rock that followed them, and that rock was Mashiach. Okay, so we agree that the one that was following that whole time was, okay. So the word of the bar became flesh. It can be alive in our flesh if we walk how he walked. In other words, the word needs to be within us. Everyone agrees to that. So 3 miracles represents 3 things needed to survive when they enter into the promised land. This is why there's a difference between striking the rock and speaking to the rock. Number 1, these are the 3 miracles that took place. 1 was water. Okay, you need water to stay alive, physical and spiritual, right? Number 2, manna. You need food to stay alive, physical and spiritual, right? They talk about the manna. You can live by bread alone, but by every word that proceedeth out of Elohim. Great. Number 3, that cloud. You need direction to survive, to survive in that day and in the night. Remember, wherever that pillar was, that's where they were going. So one part I will do, the other part, meaning this is all an agreement is happening here. I'm going to do something, you're going to do something. So before, he did everything because he saw them as babies, if you will. Remember, they came out of Mitzrayim, out of the door, had to put the blood on the doorpost. We talk about how that was the birth of Israel, right? So he's doing everything for them, as you would do for a baby, right? I would believe we would do that for a baby. All right. So this is the covenant. It will take both of us to trust in me or in him, to obey me and to be the light to others. So this is what he's asking for this next generation. Okay. And the other one is Yahuah was weaning them from being a babies, someone that rely on miracles and things done for you to now making you mature in him. So now I'm taking you from one level to the next stage. This is what he needs to do, because when they get into the land, what are they supposed to start doing? Providing their own food, right? They're going to be farmers, if you will, right? Everyone remembers the story, right? If not, we're going to get there at some point in life. So when we see what Moshe did, what do we see? He lost not his faith, meaning he believes that the Father can do these things, right? That's not the problem that Moses had. And so we know he believed that Yahuah can do all things. What he failed to do was purify his name in front of the people. Since he could not do that, he was not fit to bring the people into the land. Okay, he said, I can show you the land, but you are not ready to enter into it. Remember, hey, come on over here, Mount Horeb. Look over there. That's where the promised land is. Yep, see it? Good. You're not going there, but I just want you to see it. Awesome. Okay, then he says he needed a leader that would stand for him, even among the rebels. Those that are bitter, those that have lack or lost faith. This leader has to be able to accomplish the task Yahuah gives no matter what. So he didn't war Moses. Remember, he's the most humblest person you can think of, right?
Moses wore out.
They wore him out to no end.
So if it was 20 years before, he probably would have been better.
Yeah. He remember we went over a couple of weeks ago where he said, well, hey, they did the golden calf. Hey, if you don't forgive them, hey, block me out your book too, right? He was very strong.
Okay.
Then all of a sudden, he got to another part. He said, oh my goodness, please kill me. These people's off the chain. Then change. So he said, okay, let me get that spirit that's on you. I'll put on the 70 elders. I'll fix you all up, right? But remember, it started changing him. These people started wearing him out. Okay, so this week's Parsha connecting the clues. So it says, in which Moses sent messengers from Kadesh unto the king of Edom. Thus saith your brother, Israel, you know all the travail that has befallen us. How our fathers went down into Mitzrayim or Egypt, and we have dwelt in Mitzrayim, or we dwelt in Egypt a long time. And the Egyptians vexed us and our fathers. And when we cried unto you, he heard our voice and sent a Malach, a messenger coming called an angel, and has brought us forth out of Mitzrayim or Egypt. Behold, we are in Kadesh, a city, in the uttermost parts of your border. So whose border?
Edom.
All right. So again, this is going to tell you where Edom is, and then you got to say and where Kadesh is, right? So we'll see that in just a minute on the map. So we're over here somewhere, right? Where are we at? Hmm? So you see this here, right?
We barely read it.
Okay, so we're going to see something here. I want you to see, for example, this down here is where it's called the Sea of Reeds or Yom Suf, right? On both sides here. As we go up, you're going to see this is the Salt Sea, right? Right here. So we'll talk about this in just a minute, but I want you to see what's happening in this region right here. This is what we're going to talk about in this region here. So they say this here since this time. However, we see this in just a minute. All right, but it says to the borders of who?
Edom.
Where's Edom?
Down there.
Okay, so here's the borders. Here's Kadesh Barnea right here. So we know, and it was in the wilderness of Zin, right? So we see everything is right here. That's what we're talking about here. Keep this in mind. All right, so everyone sees this part so far. All right. Now, here's it from a different angle. This right here is Edom of Mount Seir, right? And the way this is here is actually this ridgeline right here. Okay, but we'll go more into this later on. So I really want to put a really good map together, and then we're going to actually do a video about certain things. Anyway, here's another thing here. If you think about the highway that they have coming up here, and it actually goes into right here, where this is the mountains of Seir right here. Okay, but I want you to pay close attention to this here. Where is this next to? What's that next to? Oh, y'all that been to the land? Arad. I know y'all not. Okay, hallelujah. Man, it's like pulling teeth out here. Yeah, that right here says, oh, Arad. I gotta try something. It ain't working for nobody. All right, so we're gonna see in just a minute. So the changing of the priesthood.
Can't see the print.
It's okay. I'm gonna ask the Father. We're gonna have a healing ministry,
Hallelujah.
so we can go ahead and get them eyes right. All right, so this is the ordinance of the law which Yahuah has commanded, saying, speak unto the children of Israel that they bring you a red heifer without spot, wherein is no blemish, on which never came a yoke, and you shall give her unto who? Eleazar, right? The priest, that he may bring her forth without the camp, and one shall slay her before his face. 20:23 says, and Yahuah spoke unto Moshe and Aaron, says, on Mount where? Mount Hor is very important. By the coast or the borders of,
The land of Edom.
okay, Keep that in mind. And then it says, Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, for he shall not enter into the land which I have given unto the children of Israel, because you rebelled against my word at the. Can you see why Aaron didn't make it? All right, so he says, take Aaron and Eleazar his son and bring them up unto the Mount Hor, and strip Aaron of his garments and put them upon Eleazar his son, and Aharon and Aaron shall be gathered unto his people and shall die there. So he died at Mount Hor.
Moreh,
Huh?
did you answer a question in reference to why Aaron didn't make it into the promised land? Because we know he rebelled, but what exactly?
So Aaron shall be gathered unto his people, for he shall not enter into the land
Exactly.
which I have given unto the children of Israel, because you rebelled against my word, and at the water of Meribah, that was why. You got, that's not what you meant? Oh, okay, yeah. Yeah, I think I answered it. All right. Hallelujah. So think about it. I said, what is about to happen? Eleazar is taking over for his father. Okay, he is second to last that will die out of that generation, right? Moses being the very last. Based off of this, that means Israel was dealing with a lot of dead bodies. So the whole congregation, remember, they had to die all the generations. So they got a bunch of dead bodies to deal with, and we're about to take you into the promised land. They got to be clean. So the red heifer is for this purpose. Okay? So everyone with me so far? All right, so this is where it said that Mount Hor is, according to Eusebius and Josephus. If you want to read those places, it's up to you guys. But it's down by Petra. Okay, at the very bottom there at Petra. And it says this place where Aaron has said he had died. So I'm gonna blow this up so you can see. But this is Kadesh right here, Barnea. This right here, you're gonna see is actually Mount Hor, is where that's located. But I'll blow it up a little bit more in a minute. All right, but I think maybe one day we'll go out and take a look at this. When y'all decide y'all want to pay some shekels to come on out to the land. I think none of us went to Petra.
Nope.
Right? Yeah.
Gotta go.
Mm-hmm. Now, they want to know anything about Petra? It's like a whole city in the mountain. Okay. Oh, real quick. So when we go to Petra, there are a lot of people that made Hebrew Israelites very bad in Petra. Okay.
Like black people or like.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, they went up there, and I'm not going to name no groups that went out there, and it was so bad that the people, if you say, hey, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, they're going to show you the other way. You're not coming in here. Okay. That's how bad it got over there when they started trying to claim stuff. All right. So anyway, so you're a tourist when you go over there.
Yes, we are. We understand.
All people understand. Most I have stored us.
Oh yeah. You can claim whatever you want over there if you think you got that staff of Moses with you, by all means, have at it. But if you don't, understand there's a jail just further down in the Negev waiting on you. All right, 2028. It says, Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them upon Eleazar's son, and Aaron died there in the top of the mount. Moshe and Aaron came down from the mount, and when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, they mourned for Aaron 30 days, even all the house of Israel. He didn't come down, he stayed up top. All right, so I blew the map up a little bit, right? So you see Kadesh, right? Then, but here's the things when I say here, things to point out in this map, Mount Hor, right? Remember I said it's right here. Then the Wadi Arabah, right, which is right here. We'll talk about that later. And then Edom and Mount Seir, everything's right here. So that's what I say. It's very specific that the scripture is sharing with you where this place is. And then right here, the Tophel is actually Tafila in the Arabic, right, which is right here. Okay, so this is an older map. I'm just simply stating that we can see the journey of Israel. Now, mind you, when I told you about Hormah, Remember, they wanted to go fight, which we're going to read in just a minute. Now, if that's considered the promised land, then we might as well say that Israel is all inside the promised land, which cannot be true. That's what I'm saying. It's very key. All right, anyway, back to the Parsha here. It says, Eleazar, the priest, shall take of her blood with the finger and sprinkle of her blood directly before the tabernacle of the congregation. How many times? 7. Verse 6 says, and the priest shall take cedar wood and hyssop and scarlet and cast into the midst of the burning of the heifer. Then the priest shall wash his clothes, and he shall bathe his flesh in water, and afterwards he shall come into the camp, and the priest shall be unclean until evening. And he that burns her shall wash his clothes in water and bathe his flesh in water, and shall be unclean until evening. Okay, here's my question. Which story parallels this story?
It's still down further down. I read it last night. I see a couple of places. 17.
You got some help coming.
Numbers 17.
You don't worry about nothing. You got your help coming. Don't you worry. Before you get that help, I'm just curious if anyone else is going to help you.
I'm used to it.
Okay, you got used to it now?
Yes.
All right.
Is
So-
it the purification ritual? Ritual purification.
Of what?
Are you talking about a specific story?
Yeah. Yeah. I'm talking about which story parallels this story. Mhm. So I want you to think about this. Oh my goodness.
Passover? No,
No, those were the seed.
We're just going to read it.
we don't know.
We're just going to read it. Do you remember the leprosy?
See? Number 4.
All right. It said, this shall be the law of the leper. In the days of his cleansing, he shall be brought unto the priest, and the priest shall go forth out of the camp, and the priest shall look and behold that the plague of leprosy be healed in the leper. Then shall the priest command, take him what? A cleanse of 2 birds, right? So we're going to see 2 birds clean with what? Cedar wood, scarlet, and hyssop. I remember this story? Okay. And the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in an earthen vessel over running or living water. As for the living bird, he shall take it and dip cedar wood and the scarlet and the hyssop, and shall dip them and the living bird in the blood of the bird that was killed over the running water, or the living water. He shall sprinkle upon them that is to be cleansed from the leprosy. How many times? 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field. All right. I really thought we were moving somewhere. All right, so a couple of things. Here's procedure with the bird also was a picture of a water immersion. Okay, we'll see that in a minute. So what happened with the last generation? We saw that the giants of the land, right? You remember we talked about that? They gave up. They saw these giants in the land as, oh, we can't do it. They lost trust in Yahuah. They saw the enemies as more powerful than them and Elohim. Okay, remember that. All right, so from a Remez point of view, or a higher point of view, if you will, these 3 steps can be seen in our lives today. Number 1, we need to learn how to not give up. Okay, how to endure to the end. Number 2, we have to build trust on a shaky foundation.
Solid.
Oh, okay. On a solid foundation, Yahuah is the rock. Yahushua is that chief cornerstone. Number 3, know that in some cases, power can only come from Yahuah. Sometimes we fight battles that don't belong to us, or make the battle personal. We sometimes need to make vows in our battle. Trust that once we vow, that it will take both to make it work. So in other words, within your battle, right, and you see yourself not winning, can you make a vow at that time to the Father? Yeah, make a vow. Hmm?
your word.
I don't think the class to do it,
Huh?
because you see yourself losing.
They said they couldn't hear you.
Oh, okay. Say that, I started something in my own strength, my own power. When I was going with Yahuah's word, I just went on with my own good idea. And I find myself losing in the situation. Now I want to turn around, pray to Yahuah, make a vow to him if you see me through this thing. Promise him something. So,
I'm telling.
like I said,
All right.
the first thing that comes out of my house.
All right. So is everyone
Is it wise?
not why? Just can you do that? Can you, if you're in something? I'm not talking about wickedness.
Right,
All right.
yeah.
So I'm just specifically talking about something righteous.
Yeah.
And you're in it, and you're just losing that thing. He said, "Father, I want to vow to you right now. If you do X, Y, and Z, then I will do X, Y, and Z. Could you do that in the middle of your battle?"
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
Okay.
you can do that.
Everyone agrees?
Okay.
All right. Bemidbar 21:1 says, when the king of Arad, the Canaanite, which dwelt in the south, heard tell that Israel came by the way of the spies, then he fought against Israel and took some of them prisoners, right? And Israel did what?
Vow to vow unto Yahuah.
And said, if you will indeed deliver this people in my hand, then I will utterly destroy their cities. And Yahuah hearkened unto the voice of Israel and delivered up the Canaanites, and they utterly destroyed them and their cities. And he called the name of the place Hormah, right? So, oh yeah, I'm gonna go right back to it because I want you to see if that's the case, we're gonna have a problem. All right, so everyone first understands that you can do that. Everyone agrees now. All right, now let's look at this map one more time. All right, so mind you, what do you see here? What place is this? This is Tel Arad. Y'all remember this is the citadel right here? Remember? We came in and we were here, we parked and we came on up that hill. All right, great. All right. Now, mind you now, here's Hormah here, Arad right here. The king of Arad came down, right? So they're having a fight in this area here. Here's my question is, and if this right here was called the promised land of that time, and they fought there, are we saying that Israel went through the promised land in an unclean state? Y'all with me?
What's the point of you saying it? But
We're going to find out in just a minute.
They hadn't gotten here.
Huh?
They hadn't gotten here.
Right. Remember, this is not the promised land. That's the point is, if we're in here, right, this area here, this was not called the promised land. They were in there fighting and everything. All right, so there's another part here. You can see it on this map here. Oh, okay, well, I'll leave it alone then. So anyway, I said we should have to investigate these areas that some are calling the promised land. Okay, Israel was unclean. Moshe was not allowed to set foot in the promised land. Was Israel in the land of Arad? Mind you, these lands were still desert territories as they are this day. I mean, if you go down there, they had to feed this from a cistern and some other stuff. We'll talk about that another time. But anyway, the territories, and they are to this day, did the spies go to this region and said the land was flowing with milk and honey? Okay, so again, we have to talk about the maps and how these things are being understood, right? That's why I said it's really out of the scope of this lesson, but just understand where they were going as the father, because they had to go on the other side of Moab and everything up top that way, and then cross the Jordan into the promised land, up there close to what they considered Jericho.
Pretty sure we get to further in the future, but then on this side of Jordan, all that stuff is on the Jordan side of Jordan.
Mm-hmm. Right, but you remember once they got on that side, lot of them say, I like this place. Right. So we'll get to that part when we finally get to that section there. All right. So next generation complaining similar to their parents. Right. So 21:5, here we go. And the people spoke against Elohim and against Moshe. Now, see, the children changed a little bit. Before, the adults, their parents were just speaking against Moses. They had a nerve to go against Elohim and Moses. They had this thing coming. Wherefore have you brought us up out of Mitzrayim or Egypt to die in the wilderness? There is no bread, neither is there any water, and our soul loathes this light bread. And Yahuah sends fiery serpents, right? He sent him. They sent them something. Okay, Hashim, and then it says Ha-Seraphim, right? We'll see some of these in just a minute. Among the people that they bit the people, and much people of Israel died. Therefore, the people came to Moses and said, we have sinned, for we have spoken against Yahuah and against you. Pray unto Yahuah that he takes away the serpents from us. And Moshe prayed for the people. And Yahuah said unto Moshe, make you a fiery serpent and set it upon a pole. And it shall come to pass that everyone that is bitten, when he looks upon it, shall live. And Moses made a serpent of brass and put it upon a pole. And it came to pass that if a serpent had bitten any man, when he beheld the serpent's brass, he lived. Okay, so I put notice that the repeat of the sins of the parents starts to come back out a little bit again, right? But you'll see that there's still a change in the next generation still. What happened to that serpent of brass? Anyone know?
They worshipped it after a while.
Worshipped it?
After a while.
Okay, so where is it to this day? Was destroyed? Does anyone? Okay. Yeah, we're going to read it.
Yeah.
All right, so fiery serpents. Here in Yeshayahu, Isaiah 14:29, so rejoice not you, whole Palestine, because the rod of him that smote you is broken, for out of the serpent rod shall come forth a cockatrice adder as his first fruit. But here it says, what type of fiery flying? Oof. So these here can also fly. Seraphim there. Right. So, of course, we'll talk about these another time. I think we talked a little bit about this when we did the talking about Malachims and things like that, right? Seraphim, you remember that? Okay. Israel and the fiery serpent. All right. So here are some seraphims, right? That they actually, the Egyptians worship, the Assyrians worship. And I just want you to see what happened here as far as with Yehuda. All right, have you all seen this before? We talked about this? Okay, so two believed to date from the late 8th century, Yehuda, that featured the winged Aurorus, which is the serpent in the Egyptian writing. Each seemed to have been the royal seal for a specific city named in the Bulla. The one on the left, which is this one here, you can see where it says here is in the modern Hebrew translated right here. Okay. So you see right here, Sananim, right? Le, or belonging to, or just literally means two right here, and then Melech. Okay. Down here, you see it says right here, which is right here. If you want to look at it, up it belonging to the, it's right here, to the king. So again, these are some of the things that they found in the Judean desert where Yehuda was. So other royal officials made use of the winged Uraeus as the Judean rulers moved politically closer to Mitzrayim or Egypt to help stall the Syrian advance that brought down the northern kingdom of Israel in 722 BCE. It is not surprising that the Egyptians' iconography emerged as popular symbols in the royal courts of, who's that? Okay, good. Hezekiah or Hezekiah, right? So remember this here, this is a Hezekiah seal. What does he have on here? Okay, same thing. Okay, the person of the seal bearing the words belonging to Hezekiah, son of Ahaz, king of Yehuda, and showing a winged sun and an ankh, You guys can see this Ankh here, right? The Syrian symbol is for power and life. So we'll see that. So just like today, when we're living in this land, we kind of mix some of the stuff that we do with Father. If you think you don't, I don't recall anything, how we're dressing. We dress like they exactly dress. I don't recall them ever having a Range Rover or Mercedes or anything like that. And the way that we do our food today, they don't do it the same way. But because of how we live, we're just trying to get back to the Father, but we still do things of this land. Is everyone with me so far? No different from Israel. When they're in someone else's land and someone else's territory, they are absorbed into a lot of things that they do. All right, so here talk about Hezekiah and the bronze serpent. All right, so it says, Hezekiah, removal of the Nehushtan could have also been connected to the massive tribute. Okay, anyway, so here we go about 2 Kings 18:4. We'll talk about this massive tribute that he had to pay anyway to this, I think it's Sennacherib, the king of Assyria. Where it says, he removed the high places and broke the images and cut down the groves and broke in pieces that Moses he had made. Okay, for unto those days the children of Israel did burn incense to it and called it the Nehushtan, right? So he broke it down. They started worshiping that bronze serpent that Moses erected. All right, then you jump down verse 14. Oh, especially if you're doing a lot of healing, right? I need that thing, huh? Where is it at, Moses? All right, so Hezekiah or Hezekiah, king of Yehudah, sent to the king of Assyria to Lachish. We'll give you some pictures of Lachish in just a minute, saying, I have offended. Return from me that which you put on me will I bear. And the king of Assyria appointed unto Hezekiah, king of Yehudah, 300 talents of silver and 30 talents of gold, which is a lot in their day. And Hezekiah gave him all the silver that was found in the house of Yahuah and in the treasury of the king's house. That wasn't enough. At that time did Hezekiah cut off the gold from the doors of the temple of Yahuah and from the pillars which Hezekiah, king of Yehudah, had overlaid and gave it to the king of Assyria. Okay. Something else. All right, here's another thing. There's a bowl found. Okay, the bowl was discovered, the rim which is inscribed with the name belonging to Achiyahu. Okay, the inclusion of the divine element corresponding to Yahuah indicates that the bowl represents Judean booty, or the bounty taken by late 8th century Assyrian king, part of the same booty that included the bowels of the wing. And you see that again, it was so connected to these things, and some believe that some of this right here could have been the thing that was broken down and they drew it and all this other stuff. So they absorbed a lot of the culture of that time. All right, so pictures of the Assyrian captivity. This is on the walls, and you go to the museum in Israel, in Jerusalem, modern day Jerusalem. The ones that are being dashed on the ground is the Hebrews, and the Syrians are the ones that grab them by the ankles and is trying to kill them. And so y'all remember all these things, right? This is all in the quiche. Yes, I cut out some of the top of that because, again, it's a little bit graphic, but here is the Syrians and here's the Hebrews that they got this javelin all through their body. So they drew about how they were killing them. Other ones are lion and things like that. Again, this is the siege of Lachish. And the Syrians worship seraphims. You know, they start thinking that they were deities that are commonly called gods at some point. All right, so comparing the two elements, remember, of Numbers and Leviticus, I just want to show you those really quick. But going back to what we're talking about the cedar and the scarlet and hyssop and things like that. So both involve the sprinkling of 7, right? One states it is on the individual, the other towards the tabernacle. Number 2, both involve the cedar wood, scarlet, and hyssop. Both show what is needed to draw close to Yahuah. Both need water purification, right? Everyone saw that, right? Both events. So we know the red heifer was used with someone that touched the dead. We also know that the Hamatzorah, or the leper, is likened to someone that is dead, but cannot draw close. So he's like a walking dead, right? So if you're leprous, you can't come to the temple. So even though you're technically alive, you kind of like, you can't come to see the Father. Is anyone with me so far? All right. So the Hamatzorah, or the leper, is a picture of someone that was dead and brought back to life. Another way of seeing this is someone that has been reborn or born again. Okay, he was alive, but has a condition that can cause him from not being able to draw closer to Yahuah. They would need blood and water used for purification, which symbolizes to be brought back to life, having the ability to draw closer to Yahuah. So think about the two birds. Although there are two birds, they should be seen as one bird representing the leper, the Metzorah. The bird that is slaughtered represents the Metzorah who died. The bird that is given life representing the reborn Metzorah or leopard. Note how the living bird is dipped into the blood water mixture, then released. Doesn't that seem similar to a child bursting forth from the womb of the water and blood, if you will, to experience life? What other process in this picture here regarding a commandment that we all fulfill to be born again? What is that? What must we do? You guys are going to be doing, some of you guys are going to do it tomorrow. Immersion, right? So after the death of the one bird, symbolizing the death of the Metzorah, the living bird rises from the water as like he's being immersed, speaking to new life, and he's set free. Okay. So the Torah can be used as instructions of the leper Metzorah to teach us how sinners need to be born again. Okay. There's a parallel between all of these things. All right, we're almost done now. So Hamatzorah is likened to a quote that Mashiach said. So here are some of his quotes. Matthew, Lamadyahu 8:22 says, but Yahuah said unto him, follow me and let the dead bury the dead. Okay, this would be someone alive, but spiritually dead. Lamadyahu 23:27, woe unto you, scribes and Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like unto what? White sepulchres, which indeed appear beautiful outside, but are within full of dead men's bones and of all uncleanness. Ephesians 2:1, and you have quickened who were dead in trespass and sin. 1 John 3:4 tells us what sin is. Whosoever commits sin transgresses also the law, for sin is transgression of the law. So I don't know anyone can get around that part, but anyway. Hebrews 9:13-14, for this is the blood of the bulls and the goats and the ashes of the heifer sprinkled to the unclean purifies the purifying of the flesh. So we know that just talking about the red heifer. 14 says, how much more shall the blood of Mashiach, who through the eternal spirit offered himself without spot to Elohim, purge your consciousness from dead work to serve the living Elohim. So you know my question is going to be again, this one, and this is going to be my question. What does the book of Hebrews mean, without spot to Elohim, and what does it mean to serve the living Elohim? And then if you had that that thing, okay, so I think we forgot all of this.
You're talking about, what is the spot? That's in Jude 11 and 12.
All right. That's
Yes.
what I'm talking about.
Shalom. I'm sorry, Moreh. I was gonna say that. Sorry, but he got me
I
to
really
it.
appreciate you. So we need a redeemer around here. They're killing me.
Hey,
All right. So they got it. They're right. Absolutely. So remember Jude 11 and 12, right? Woe unto them, for they have gone in the way of Cain or Cain. Offer things your way is what I share with you what Cain did. He wanted to offer what he wanted to offer the Father, right? And ran greedily after the heirs of Balaam for rewards. Remember Balaam? We're going to talk about that next week. It's going to be an interesting conversation we're going to have. To mix with unbelievers, belief, or mixed doctrine. And perish into gainsaying. The word gainsaying in Hebrew is riv, which means to contend or to strive. With what? Korach. Korach, we already know about the rebellion against authority. These are the spots in your feasts of charity when they feast with you, feeding themselves without fear, clouds that they are without water, carried about the winds, trees whose fruit wherewith without fruit, twice dead, plucked up by the roots. So we do know what that one is. Question, serving and living Elohim. How do you do that? Okay, great. Sounds good. Devarim 13:4. You shall walk after Yahuah Elohim and fear him and keep his commandments and obey his voice, and you shall serve him and cleave unto him. Okay, let's get another one really fast. Joshua 22:5 says, but take diligent heed to do the commandments and the law, which Moses, the servant of Yahuah, charged you to love Yahuah Elohim and to walk in all his ways and to keep his commandments and to cleave unto him and to serve him with all your heart and with all your soul. I mean, I think we've heard that before. Even Mashiach talks about that, right? All right. So in these two things, what do you see that's in common about serving him? All right. Everyone sees that, right? Keep his commandments. You got to obey him, right? Keep his commandments. Everyone sees these good things. Great. So Revelation 22:14 says, those are they that do this. What are they going to do? His commandments. And if they do that, then what? They have right to the tree of life and may enter through the gates into the city. Is there any other way you're going to get through there?
No.
All right. So you see, commandments is very important. All right. Any questions? No? If not, because you remember.
I have a question. The striking of the rock twice. What does that symbolize? What happened to Yahushua? Is that it has no connection to it? Okay.
I know we like to.
No.
But, you know, yeah. The lamest terms is that from him striking it first to now speaking, there's a connection between what he's asking. There's some things that you're going to do, and there's some things that he asks you to do. You're going to see that Israel's learning is transitioning from one angle to the next. You know, notice when the generation, what they did was they called to Yahuah. Remember, the first generation, the parents didn't call on him at all. You know, they murmured it, but next, you know, when they called on the Father, they made a vow to him and they were saved. So he's trying to show them how I'm moving you away from this into you can call on me. I hear you. You're my child. You know, just believe that I would do certain things. So there's a relationship that starts to happen as they're starting to go into the promised land. We're going to see more and more about a relationship as it starts to grow as they get closer to the land. So before come out of Egypt is all the Father. Right? You ain't got to do nothing. I fight all your battles. Everything's happening. Just like when we go back home again, we're going to be the same way. That's like us coming out of an Egypt, if you will. And he's going to start fighting all of our battles. We got to start over because we're been inundated with a lot of stuff from this land. So it's going to be the same principle. Then you're going to have, as it says, and I think it's just Yahuah Isaiah, then you're going to have some rebels, even when we go back home again. It's just, the cycle is not going to stop. Okay.
One is where can they
They can email Yashron. What was the email you gave out? Oh, the path to Yahuah. Yeah, send that to you. Mm-hmm.
Second one. Seraphim.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. They are definitely messengers. Mm-hmm. That's what we went over, I think, last week when we did Isaiah 6:1, the one seraphim that were before the throne, and the one that came down and touched Yeshayahu tongue with a coal off his altar. Absolutely. Yes.
So Moreh, so I'm just trying to make sense of everything that you just said. So basically, like you said, this is a continuous pattern.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you look at the first generation of Israel and then they died off, and now you're looking at the second generation of Israel that Moses is leading, they're learning just a little bit more than what the previous generation but they're still whining and complaining. So they're coming, and then you go forward. So basically they're being led, they're getting milk. They're not quite on solid food yet. Is that what I'm understanding? As they move further and further, and like you said, like the Most High continually, was there for them, fighting their battles. That was like giving them milk. But slowly but surely, they're going to be led to solid food, to where they're going to have to do more for themselves.
Right. So in other words, remember the original plan was he was going to feed them manna until they got into the land. But once they got into the land, the manna was going to stop, and they were going to start to be farmers. And they were going to start to learn how to feed themselves. They were going to learn how to mature and not 100% rely on the Father, because if not, what that does, if you do something, let's just say for a baby, and as the baby grows, and goes, if you're still doing the same thing for that baby and it becomes adult, that adult's no good, right? Same principle that happens here is he's basically, that generation had to die out because they didn't even have faith in the Father at all. They always wanted things their way, and what wound up happening was that it got so bad, especially all the stuff that they were doing, was like constantly like a reminder of what happened in the garden. That's always showing those parallels, and constantly how they desire to stay in Mitzrayim or Egypt. They really had their heart set on Egypt. This generation basically is not really having their heart set on Egypt, more so than they're now starting to see some of the mistakes that their fathers have made or their parents have made, and they're starting to learn from it, even though they're still on the milk stage themselves. But as they keep going closer to the promised land, we're going to see how they're going to start to develop more faith. They're going to start to win battles. They're going to start to see that, hey, wait a minute, he is with us. Let's go do this. And we know that he's with us. Faith is going to increase. You're going to start to see when they ate of the land, the manna stopped. Then obviously they started, farming and things like that. And that's their growth. So today, I would say the same thing with us. We're supposed to learn from all of this. So as we learn from all this, we're supposed to grow even further than those generations. But we're still technically milking a lot of things. I want us to think that we're like 100% mature on everything. We're not there. So all we're doing is striving with what he has given us to be mature in what we already have.
So it's very important for us to learn from the previous generations also, so that we can move forward.
Right.
And not always be per se on milk.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what are we reading for next lesson?
Balaam.
For our next class?
Balaam and Balak.
Okay.
Yep, that's the next Parsha. That's going to be an interesting Parsha there.
Yeah, I read that. Okay, I'm good.
All right.
Thank you.
No problem. You should have all the answers when I have all these questions coming.
Well, yeah, but I could, but I don't know what questions you're going to ask. And number two, I can't be an answer hog. I want my other brothers and sisters to get a chance to answer too.
Trust me, they don't mind if you answer all of that. Ain't no question about that. All right.
Shalom, Moreh.
Ken.
You made an argument about the geographical location for some of the battles and some of the events that happened. The output of that, was that to talk about where the land actually is in comparison to today?
Right. Yeah. So it's going to be a little bit of a combination of things. I don't, want to say I'm talking bad about other people that believe where Jerusalem is and things like that. But for us that don't believe that, we're sharing that the reason why we don't is looking at some of these maps, the even older maps, is showing that where they traveled to get to the promised land, if they went that way that people are seeing as, let's say, Jerusalem now, then that means Israel is already inside the promised land, technically. And then they came back out, and then they went on the other side to the Jordan side, if you will, and then came up to Mount Nebal, and then jumped back over, and then came back down. I'm saying that there's going to be a problem with using the maps that way. And I'm not saying that the modern Jerusalem today is it neither. I'm just simply stating that for some people, we need to map out and watch, and we don't have to use the maps of quote unquote Israel. There are other maps that are out here that has nothing to do with them, but they did make maps, such as there's one that's in, I think it's 156 BCE. There's another one that's 13th century, 15th century, 16th century. All of those have maps that show what they encountered and how they drew out where Israel went and everything like that. So we're gonna go over all of those places as well, just maybe not in this format. You know, I may just do that as a while I'm over in the land or something like that. Maybe I can invest in a drone and do that, unless I can get some shekels and actually get one of those what's them suits where you can put a jetpack on? Oh no, that's too much. Okay, all right, yeah. So that's all I'm sharing is we're going to see as they start moving, we're going to be looking at where these places, where they're named, as we go through all of that. That's simply what I'm doing right now.
Oh, okay. Torah. You know, I'd never heard the argument or even thought there could have been an argument. So is there any place that I could maybe start studying that kind of information, or maybe a reference that, you know, just to get us started?
As far as what?
As far as the older maps, I know you can Google tons of things, but what do you use to study the maps?
Brother, I got tons of stuff. Okay, I got tons of things. I can share with you some of them. Other ones I got, you know, it was in the software. Now, if you want to get the software, it's about, I think it's $3,400. And if you want to do that, you can do that as well. I'll have all that in there too.
Okay, my Isha side. So maybe you can just send some snapshots and
Oh, okay. She don't want you to go in your pockets? Okay, I got it.
And
no problem.
May I add that there are some maps that actually show, in reference to what you're speaking of, that actually show that Israel, Jerusalem, Shiloh, places of the names of those locations are actually located in Africa. So you hear a lot of, I do, people saying that where Israel is right now, that's not the promised land, that the promised land is over here in Africa, and so on and so forth. It's just a lot of information, but I really don't know what to even say about all that. I just let the Most High lead me because of what all these maps say. It definitely confuses me.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, there's a couple of videos out there. I don't say anything negative, I guess, about the brethren that do those. The maps that they're using, though, are like, let's just say 16th century, 17th century, maybe as early as 15th. None of them are 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, or 6th century. None of them. And so again, if I am Israel and I'm in a captivity and I get kicked out and I go over to Africa, wouldn't I name some of the places based off of the information that I'm familiar with? You know what I mean? So for an example, and then the other part of it is the things that were found in the areas there's nothing found in those maps, meaning in that area, you don't find no archaeological findings of anything dealing with Israel there, other than just someone's mapping and putting a name somewhere. But when you go over to places where there's archaeological findings, and this outside of Israel, I mean, before even Israel, you got findings from other people that were in the land before them, shows that there have a lot of stuff that fits the scriptures, old tablets, if you will, stones, parchments. All that stuff is there. You don't find that in the area that they're talking about. Some are even looking at it down, let's say South Africa, some is Kenya, some is this place, some is that place. And again, what they're doing is saying, because there's a map that's let's say a 15th or 16th century or even 17th century, they'll say, see here, it shows this, so this has to be it. But then when you find another map that's 10th century, 9th century, 4th century, 3rd century, that says, no, it's over here, then how do you reconcile those things? So that's what I say, that's not the, I mean, I wouldn't, want to put up a video to say, I want to combat this person's, I'm not really like that. I'm just simply stating for those that believe that, that's fine. Those that believe in other places, that's fine. But if we're saying we don't believe that, then we're just sharing why we don't believe that and what we believe is happening. That's all we're doing.
Okay, Torah.
All right. Oh yeah. Anyone else?
Yes, Lamadyahu.
All right, Aki.
Pesach is coming soon, and I slaughter a lamb as well. I know you all try to also, but I get constantly from people that they just keep using that passage in Deuteronomy 16 about you got to do it where he puts his name, and I mean it's real. I really like more people to become awakened to the fact that slaughtering a lamb is still part of Torah. And I don't see anywhere in scripture, anywhere in the whole realm of scripture where it says not to slaughter a lamb. Do you have any particular teaching that you may have covered those questions and those those issues that people try to use to say that we don't need to do that anymore?
Yeah. They're in a lot of the Pesach lessons that we did previously years ago.
Okay, so when I look and when I search YouTube, I just type in your name or Path to Yahuah and Pesach, and is there anyone in particular though? Do you recall?
Most of them, just about most of them say that. But in layman's terms, like I say, when you say sacrificing, so for an example, a lot of people that do eat lamb, whatever lamb that they're eating on that day, let's say it's not a whole lamb, for an example, but they're eating lamb. That lamb had to have been killed.
Yes.
All right. So, but the other part of it, when you think about it, when it talks about even if you're in a journey far away, you're still to do the Passover, as it says, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, you don't really need a bunch of the places. You can just go and see where it says, hey, listen, it says if I'm in a far away, if I'm in a journey, I still got to do the feast day. So because I still got to do it, I'm going to do it the best way that I know how to memorialize it, to remember it, things like that.
Right.
And no difference than if one walks and marches out to different places that they were having Passover throughout the time before they even got to the promised land. I mean, so my point is it's teach its own, I guess I would say in that regard is if one believes it, they believe it. One don't, they don't. Yeah. There's not no real convincing if someone's set in their mind to believe it one way or another. So if you run across someone and they say that, you say, okay, well, I keep great, hallelujah. If not, hey, I keep
okay,
great,
yeah, I guess that's really the best way to deal with it, because someone approached me and my friend the other day, and they say we're not supposed to sacrifice, and we said it's not a sacrifice, it's a memorial, it's a remembrance, because that's what the Torah says in the scriptures in Exodus chapter 14 12. It says, and this shall be a remembrance throughout your generations, and they say that it has to be done in the temple. And I said, well, I don't see that anywhere because that's something that's done in your home, and so anyway, it never fails. It always approaches that time of year, and I still have a lot of people that I associate with occasionally, from a former group that I used to be involved in here in San Antonio. And as a matter of fact, they got together last Shabbat, and I went to visit with them. And I mentioned about it, and again, same discussion, same verse, Deuteronomy 16, but anyways, yeah, I'm gonna check out your Pesach studies and see what you have to say on that one. So, thanks anyways. Thanks a lot, and blessings to you all.
All right. Anyone else? Hallelujah. Well, we'll stand and close. And since Gadar is feeling better, I know he would love to close us out because he didn't have a chance in the last Shabbat. All right.
Hallelujah. Torah, for the word that we heard today. Thank you for the message that you brought. And Father, we ask that we just examine ourselves, Father, to see exactly where we are with your word, Father. And once we examine ourselves, we're going to realize we're not as mature as we think we are. Allow us to humble ourselves under the mighty word, under your word, and begin to apply your word to our lives. Give us wisdom, give us understanding that we may apply your word to our lives so that we can be a light to the Gentiles and even on our jobs. Everywhere we may go, Father, allow us to be a light, to represent you in a set apart way. We thank you, Father, for our Moreh. Continue to experience and show me. Father, also we pray for Yahuah. Father, about the MRI, we pray, Father God, Father Yah, that you will give her a clean bill of health. That is just something minor that would take them with some prescriptions or maybe change an eating habit. That would clear it up. But Father, we're already speaking victory. We're speaking healing right now in Yahushua HaMashiach's name. And anyone else is sick, anyone else is not feeling well, we speak life, we speak health, we speak deliverance into their lives right now, because you are a saving. You are our Elohim that healeth us. And because we keep your law, statutes, and commandments, so we stand on your promises today, Father. We give all esteem and honor to your name. We thank you, Father, for those that travel, hallelujah, 12 hours away, that's traveled the highways and the byways. We continue to pray, Father, that you give them speedy recovery back home, that no hurt, harm, danger come near them. There'll be no issues with their vehicles. We just thank you, Father, for bringing them here. We thank you, Father, for those that's coming to be immersed. Father, allow it to be a transformation, a renewedness of life, that they can leave old things passed away. Behold, all things are become new, and begin to walk in this Torah, walk in this new life with victory, with assurance, with peace, with joy, that we can exalt you, Father, to exalt your set apart name. Now, Father, in Yahushua HaMashiach's name, we ask that you bless the fellowship, bless the food that is being prepared for us, for our nourishment of our bodies, and that we will continue to exalt and magnify your name in our fellowship. In Yahushua HaMashiach's name we pray. And everybody says, Amen. Hallelujah.
Yeah. I heard God, Chief. I'm just going to be straight up with you. I heard you say God, didn't you? He went back to church. Yeah, you remember he was a deacon.
Okay. Ladies, can y'all take up all the food that y'all
I
have and
understand.
stand back here for a minute? We'll go to set up the tables over here.
You know, the longer you pray, I'm going to forget.
We need
Nah,
to
I'm going to forget.